Welcome to the Elokus podcast. This is class number 4 in the second discourse in the Sefer, in the book B'Shasha Higdimu 5672. This is the Maamor Oteh, which is the second discourse, and we are holding in class number 4. So, class number 24 in the overall Maamor. I'd like to dedicate this year to my grandson, who had his bris today, Yeshua Hirsch ben Nechama Bela, Yeshua Hirsch ben Avram Aaron. May he grow up l'Torah l'chuppah l'maisim tovim. Here we go. We are holding, in the last class, we skipped a day, but today we're back in. In the last class, we were learning about how there is a variation. Since we're dealing with Or Pnimi, the whole discourse is taking everything we learned in last Maamor, in the first Maamor, and explaining and using it to applying it also to the divine realms above. How the Or Pnimi, the internal light, each one settles into a particular vessel, and how we see that in the spiritual realms, the vessels, the containers, are matching the lights, and how there is a difference in the levels of kalim. How there is differences in the levels of the kalim. How each keli, we discussed how in the last class we had this long discussion about how different the vessels of the midas, of the emotions are, which they are really called vessels in comparison to the vessels of the intelligence, which are so subtle that they can hardly be called vessels. They are almost like part of the energy. That was the last thought we learned. Now we continue further. Again, this is in the middle of Perek Hey. Now he's going to follow the same thought process that we had in the first discourse. When he presented this idea in the human experience, he explained how each power of the soul registers and is facilitated in a particular vessel in the body. And the same he's now explaining above as well. And the same represents in the Adam Elyon, the supernal man above. But just like before, he challenged himself by saying, hey, we do see sometimes that some of the intelligence doesn't only remain in the brain, but the intelligence works its way down through the various other organs and the parts of the body. And what was his answer? That it's true that that happens, but that's only an external ray of the intelligence. The primary intelligence remains in the brain. Some of the overflow, if you might say, of the intelligence flows into the emotions, and it can even influence and go all the way down into the motor parts of the body, which are more about movement, and even they can become intelligent, like he discussed writing and art and the like. But that's all a lesser degree of the intelligence. So just like he discussed it down here in the human experience, he's going to give us the same picture in the supernal world as well. Okay? So we're going to take the same concepts, but apply them with spiritual and Kabbalistic terminology. So bear with me. And even though there is an enclosement of the mochin, of the intellectual divine powers, also in the levels that are below the intelligence, means not only fitting in the divine brain, but going down lower, like by way of analogy, that sometimes we find that the intelligence goes into the power of movement, the motor movement of the hand, and the power of the motor movement of walking, of the leg, which is a motor movement, but yet it becomes intelligent, as we discussed, that there is regular movement of the leg, and there is refined movement, like in dancing and the like. The fine steps of a dancer is a very refined art. And that means that the intelligence has made its way all the way down to the legs. So above, it's the same thing. By God, in the divine realm, it's the same thing. The same. So above, there is also in Hashem's hand, just like we have a hand, and our physical arm, is a facility for our soul. And yet, even though usually in the physical hand, it's the power of kindness that comes through, or the power of movement, tenuah, and movement, and also kindness goes through the hand. But yet sometimes there is intelligence that comes into our hand, like we said in artwork. So the same thing is above, in Hashem's right arm, which we discussed in the supernal man above. It says in the Zohar that kindness is his right arm. Now, and over here as well, sometimes there is intelligence, not sometimes, there is an intellectual element to the supernal kindness of the Hashem's right hand. But now he first makes an important note. When it comes to the chesed, Hashem's kindness, in the human experience as well, but over here, particularly in the divine realm, we find as follows. The Zohar calls kindness the right arm. Now, physiologically, we do kindness with our hand. Now we can do kindness with both our hands. You can do tzedakah with your right hand and with your left hand. But yet, the main energy of kindness flows in the right side of the human being. So therefore, mostly the energy of kindness is on the right side. That's why the sages say, "L'olam yehei yamin mekareves," that a person should always use their right hand to draw people close. Usmoil doiche, the left hand has to push away. Because the left hand is the left side in general is the side of discipline. And kindness without discipline is not healthy. So you need to have kindness and discipline, but God purposely made that most people, the right side is stronger than the left side, because Hashem wants to dominate kindness over severity. But what we see from here is that the right side is the side of kindness. But kindness has an external and an internal. The external part of kindness is the act of kindness, the giving of one's money, the giving of one's other types of transmitting of help that you give. You share knowledge, you share, someone comes for advice, you give them the advice. All of that's a practical doing of kindness. But then there is the emotion of kindness. The emotion of kindness is that you feel an excitement to want to help people. It's not the actual doing it, it's not the practical act, but it's the feeling of the kindness, the openness to help other people. Or even deeper than that, the internal energy of kindness, as it is in the emotion, is an emotion of love. Love is the soul of kindness. So that's not really inside the hand. That's not in the arm. That's inside the heart. That's why he's explaining over here. When we say in the Zohar that kindness is the right arm, that's the external element of divine kindness. The more internal kindness is taking place in Hashem's heart, not in Hashem's right arm. Let's read it inside. In the kindness of Hashem's right hand, which is the external element of the emotions, which the external element of the emotions is lifoil pu'ulas chesed, is to affect the effects of kindness. The internal part of the emotion is to feel, not to affect. The inner experience is how I feel about someone. I love you. I don't like you. Whatever the feeling is, it's an internal feeling. From those feelings, when you love your spouse, you love your children, you love your friends, you love a fellow Jew. Internally, there is a deep love, which is a powerful experience of love. Sometimes we feel it more, sometimes we feel it less. And then as a result of the love that we have to our children, we do all the acts. The actions of love that we will do. We will go out of our way. Sometimes we're not feeling the love, but it's all plugged into, and it's all a derivative of the essential love that's really in the heart. But some of that love, an external part of that love, goes out and gets into the hands to actually go ahead and act upon the kindness. So above, it's the same thing. The external element of Hashem's love goes into Hashem's right hand. Yesh bezeh. Now, even in the external, I was going to explain soon, in the internal element of the love, in the actual experience of love itself that God has, over there, of course, there is intelligence. Some of the intelligence drives the love. Why? That's the reason in the love. Why is he loving? Why does he love us so much? Hashem has so many good reasons why he loves us. What he finds lovable. What justifies the love. That's all reasoning of the love. So in the love itself, there is the intelligence that drives the love. That's the internal love. How about the external love? When the love reaches action, when it goes into Hashem's right hand, when it becomes from love, kindness, which means more about the actual doing of it. Now, even there, he says, there is an intelligence in the kindness. What does that mean? Because you can give, and you can give intelligently. It's like we say sometimes, you can teach someone, you can give someone a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. If you're just feeling kind and you want to help someone, you throw them a fish. You have your own fishing rod, you fished, you're coming home with a whole pail of a dozen of nice fish that you just caught. You see someone over there, a poor man who doesn't have what to eat, you can throw him a fish, and now he has dinner for him and his family. Or if you're really kind and you want to be intelligently kind, you can help him fashion a fishing rod and teach him how to fish himself. Right? That's the idea. So that's the intelligence that, and a lot of people today's days, they want to give their money in ways that their money is going to be the most effective to help whoever they're helping. That means that there is seichel, there is intelligence in the kindness, in the act of the kindness, that the kindness isn't just done recklessly, it's done purposefully, mindfully. That's the intelligence of the kindness. Hashem as well, God's intelligence goes down into his kindness, into the right arm. Now he's going to show something amazing. Physiologically, we see it in our hand, that the kindness reaches the chesed. We look at a human hand, which is a reflection of God's hand, because everything in the physical world is a reflection of what's in the spiritual worlds. The makeup of a physical hand is that it has 3 parts to the hand, 3 bones. From the shoulder till the elbow is the first bone, the first part of the hand, the upper arm. Then there is from the elbow to the wrist. It's the second part of the hand. And the third part of the arm is from the wrist to the end of the fingers. And we count that as one part, even though there as well there's individual bones. But when you look at the arm, these are 3 parts to the hand. Now what are these 3 parts? In the right hand, they are all chesed. But since every emotion, every experience, every feature has all the features inside of it, so in chesed itself, in kindness itself, there is the intelligence of the chesed, the chabad of the chesed, the intelligence, the reason for the kindness, or the we might say the wisdom of the kindness, and then there is the emotion of the kindness, the feeling that drives the kindness, and then there is the practical action of the kindness itself. Now you can see that all in the hand. The upper part of the arm is the chabad of the chesed. It's the chabad means the chachma bina das. It's the intelligence of the kindness. The second part of the arm is the emotion of the kindness, the love of the kindness. And the third part of the arm, which is where the action mostly takes place, the fingers that are writing the check or are counting out, picking up the coins or the money or the dollar bills to give a tzedakah, to do the actual kindness. That's done with the fingers, with the wrist and the fingers. That's where the action is done. That's the netzachod yesod of the kindness, which means the practical kindness coming into action. So what you see over here is, but what is this all emphasizing? How there is intelligence in the kindness itself. And as it is down here in the physical human, the same as above. This is all part of his question. Again, we said before that each power of the soul has its registered limb, and it only sits in its particular organ and limb that matches it. And we're now saying that no, that the intelligence, that even the mind, the intelligence comes down all the way down through all the limbs, like in kindness, in which we find that there is intelligence in kindness, like we see in the arm. The upper part of the arm is the chabad, the intelligence of the kindness. He says, yeah, But as the same answer that we gave it in the first discourse, that's not where the main intelligence is happening. That's only a secondary level of intelligence. Let's read it inside. So, where the external part of the midas, which does the chesed, that's the right hand. There is intelligence in the hand. These are the three parts that are in a person's hand. Chabad, chagas, nehi. The chabad of the hand is the upper part of the hand, is the chachma bina das, which are the acronym for the three intellectual powers. There is the chesed, gevura, teferes of the hand. That's the emotional elements, the kindness, the severity, and the beauty element of the emotions. That's the primary emotions. That's from the elbow to the wrist. And then there is the netzachod yesod, which is the wrist down to the fingers. Shebachol midah beprat, that's in each individual midah. And in the left hand, you have that as well. You have the intelligence of the discipline, you have the emotion of the discipline, and you have the practical delivery, actualization of the discipline. And now, first he's speaking. What's going to be the chabad on the right side of the hand? It's going to be the intelligence that is calling forth the kindness. A person has a justification in their mind why they are being kind. And then there is ve'etzem hachesed, there is the essence of the kindness itself. And then thirdly and lastly, pu'ulasoi, there is its effect. Hainu hashpa'asoi b'poyol, when you're actually doing the kindness itself. Like explained elsewhere. So you see that even in the external part of the kindness, the intelligence is present, and definitely and even more so, the kolshkin b'pchenes pnimius hamidas, like I began today, we spoke earlier, that the hand is only the external part of the emotions. The internal part of the emotions, where the emotions are really taking place, that's in the heart. But kolshkin b'pchenes pnimius hamidas, when you're not in the world of giving, you're just in the world of feeling. So in the world of feeling, which is a more inner world, over there definitely there is intelligence. But again, here he's not even talking down here in the human experience, we're talking in the divine experience. And how much more so in the internal element of the emotions. Shebelev adam elyon, that is in the heart of the supernal man, that means in God's heart, kiviyachol, so to speak. Now, by the way, every time you'll see, when he speaks about physical attributes regarding Hashem, he adds the word kiviyachol, because kiviyachol always serves to remind us that it's not really, God forbid, that we should see it as a physical heart, or in any way even close, but to always remember that this is in the most abstract way. Which over there, which the emotions, the internal experience over here is above action, it's still way above the world of action. Over there for sure there is intelligence. If the intelligence comes all the way down when you're ready to act, when Hashem is ready to act, the action is an intelligent action. How much more so his feelings, which is a higher part of the human and above the supernal human, closer to the intelligence. Of course, there is an intelligence in the emotion. And where do we find that? There's a verse in Genesis and Bereshis where it says that Hashem said to his heart. What does it mean he's talking to his heart? When you talk to your heart means you're trying to reason with your heart. And person in ourselves also, a lot of times our heart, starts getting emotional and gets scared or frightened, or the heart gets too carried away in a relationship with love, and a lot of times it can be reckless, and the mind tries to reason with the heart. So that's called talking to your heart. So that means the intelligence is communicating with the emotion. And by above, it's the same thing. Hashem is speaking to his heart. Which that means when Hashem is talking to his heart, what does it mean? It means that he's drawing down the mochin, his intelligence to the emotions. Now, when we spoke about all the way in the human experience in last Maamor, in the first discourse, We spoke how the intelligence reaches downward. So we spoke how it goes into the arm, in artwork, in the arts, but we also mentioned that it reaches even a person's leg, right? Like we said, when a person knows how to have dance moves, that's because they have more refined leg movements, acrobats, right? Imagine a tightrope walker, walking across a tightrope from one of the towers of the Twin Towers to the other one, Olav Shalom, the Twin Towers that once were. So if someone is walking across that, or across the Niagara Falls, you understand that it's an incredible art to be able to balance, which means there's intelligence in the leg. So he's saying above as well, Hashem's intelligence comes all the way down to Hashem's feet. What is that? That's the intelligence not in the divine emotions, but in Hashem's feet. What's Hashem's feet? That's the attribute of Malchus, which is called Hashem's feet, which he's going to explain why it's called Hashem's feet. But Malchus, the kingship, which is the lowest of the attribute, the lowest part of the supernal human, even there into the Malchus, there is intelligence. Which is, in general, the power of walking that's in the leg. Malchus is the power of walking. It's God's power of walking. Which is the lowest level of Atzilus, just like the foot, the leg, is the lowest part of the physical body of the human. So too, above as well, Malchus is the lowest attribute. Kamashal Harega, like the example of a leg, let's skip the parentheses. He's going to explain more why Malchus is called a leg. We're going to leave that as Hashem for tomorrow's class. But let's continue the thought process that we're learning now, so we don't lose it. And over there, in the Malchus, in the leg, Yesh Bezeh Gam Kein B'chinas HaMoichin, even over there the intelligence reaches all the way down at Hashem's feet. So that Hashem's legs, whatever that means, the Malchus is intelligent kingship. Now, where do we find that? What does that mean above? Above, there is, as we spoke, there's intelligent kindness. And now there's intelligence legs. What does that mean? Shazeu inyan, amazing. Chachma d'maisa bereshis. That's the intelligence of creation. Anybody examining the works of science, the works of the world, and that's what science is supposed to do, explore the works of the world, must come to the conclusion, unless one is bent on being a atheist because they don't want to have to deal with a God in this world, one has to be blown away with absolute, with a boundless awe and admiration for the incredible cleverness and the unbelievable intelligence that's within the works of creation. When you study how the makeup of things are, how perfectly everything has to work, how billions of pieces, trillions upon, that's not even a number even close, has to work in perfect unison. And everything in this, the most incredible machinery that is just, the mechanics of creation are just unbelievable. Even just if we stop and we analyze the unbelievable wisdom of an eye, a human eye, an animal eye, or whatever it is, what kind of camera that is, sophisticated camera the eye is, and so on and so forth. Every part of the human body or every part of anything in the world, the complexity of it, the perfection of it. So you see an enormous intelligence. And that's only, examining just little parts of it. But imagine how much intelligence goes into the entire cosmos, creating everything and holding it all together. It's mind-blowing. Yet that entire chachma, the chachma, which is, obviously it's God's wisdom, which God created the Maaseh Bereshis, the work of creation, that's the intelligence in God's feet. Because all of creation, and when we talk about creation, we mean not only the physical world, it implies even the spiritual worlds above. All of creation is a product of God's legs. It's not a product of God's mind. It's not a product of God's heart. It's not even a product of Hashem's hands. It's a product of Hashem's legs. Because all of creation is produced by the final attribute called Malchus. Malchus is where creation takes place. And therefore, the wisdom of creation, the intelligence of creation, is the intelligence of Malchus. So it's like, it would be comparable to a human being's intelligence that reaches the person's legs. Now, this idea that there is intelligence in creation, obviously, we don't need to prove that. You just look at the world and you see the incomprehensible intelligence that there is. But he also proves it from a verse. The Kulam b'chachma sisa. It says, there's a verse that says, we say it in davening, but where is this verse actually from? In Tehillim, in Psalms 104, Kuf Dalet, Pasuk Chav Dalet, verse 24. It says, Marabu Masecha Hashem, how numerous are your actions, God? How many creatures did you make? You made boundless creatures. Kulam b'chachma asisa. You made them all with wisdom. So here we're talking about which wisdom? This is the wisdom of Hashem's legs. It's the wisdom that he puts into his actions. That means that the true divine wisdom is infinitely, boundlessly higher and beyond. But the wisdom that there is, that we see in creation, is the wisdom of his feet. Shenimshechu mislabish, that the chachma, the wisdom, gets drawn and becomes enclosed all the way down into Hashem's leg. How does it come down? First, it encloses in Hashem's emotions, which is called the Ze'er Anpin. Okay, we're going to slowly, as we learn the discourse, we're going to have to slowly start explaining certain Kabbalistic terminology. So there is a term that we're going to be coming across many times called Za. Za is an acronym. It's for two words. Ze'er, which means Ze'er Anpin. Literally translated, means the small face. It's referring to the six, generally. Sometimes it's referring to the configuration of all the Sfirot, 9 Sfirot, from Chachma all the way to Yesod, not including Malchut, not including the final Sfira, but most of the times it's referring to the 6 emotional attributes. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. These 6 emotions, they are called the small face of God. Why do we call it small face? Just to come in contrast to Keter, to the crown, which is called Erech Anpin, the large face. And not getting into it right now, what the difference of small face and large face is, but that's what it's called. It's called Ze'er Anpin. So when we say that Hashem's wisdom trickles down all the way into Malchus, first his wisdom comes into his emotions, and from his emotions, it goes further outward until it reaches Hashem's legs, so to speak, and it goes into his Malchus. U'mislabish bizah, it becomes enclosed in the Ze'er Anpin, Malchus, and finally it goes down all the way into Malchus. The Sheishes Yamim Asa Hashem, because in creation there is a joint participation. The 6 emotions are involved in creation. That's why there are 6 days in creation. But they are not just emotions, they're infused with intelligence. And then after the 6 days, there are 6 days of time because they relate to the 6 emotions of God. But then Hashem actually creates the world with his speech, with his Malchus attribute, which in this Maamor he's referring to Hashem's legs. That's how he creates the world. Shem Shisha Midos Tezah, which are the 6 emotions of the Ze'er Anpin, Ubederech Prat, and more particular, Hem Midos Shebe Malchus. The 6 days of creation are not really the 6 emotions for themselves, but the 6 emotions as they are in Malchus. Let's stop over here because this is getting a little bit complex, and we're going to try to clarify this Be'ez Hashem in tomorrow's class.